So I would like to welcome everyone for this yet another interesting webinar for Anglophone Africa. Today's webinar is about planning for the development of the first BTR, the necessary steps, first steps. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you a few steps that will be necessary for the BTR development. And today we are privileged to hear a few lessons from different countries that have started walking the steps. I hope most of the countries have joined us today. And I hope by the time we start sharing, they will be part of the meeting. So I wanted to first of all run us through the program for the day so that you can have a good start. So today I'll be moderating the sessions, and also we shall have very few short opening remarks from the global team. And then we shall have an overview of the BTR planning and development process in the context of how do we plan, how do we start, how do we actually develop a general overview or a roadmap for the BTR process. But also we shall listen to the different countries sharing their experiences, planning and setting up coordination teams and developing BTR from the different countries. We have examples from Rwanda, we have examples from Namibia and Nigeria, but also we shall be taking a group photo after that. And then we shall also hear from other countries that will be sharing how they are trying to walk the first steps, since it's all our first time. And then we shall run a Menti survey and then wrap up. Today's session is meant to last for only 1.5 hours. And I hope this will be great to take you through the sessions. And I hope there will be a lot of learning since we are all starting the process. So at this moment, I would like to welcome my colleague from the global team. To give us the opening remarks. We cannot hear you.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Now we can hear you.
Yes. I am trying to mute the participants that are making noise. Anyway, good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Ketsiwe Kumalo. I'm working with UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center here with the team that is supporting the implementation of the CBIT-GSP. And we are very happy to welcome you today to this very interesting webinar where we are talking about the BTR planning. I think all of you now already are aware of what the CBIT-GSP program stands for. So for those that are joining us maybe for the first time today, just a little bit of what we do with the CBIT-GSP. This is a project that is funded by the GEF and implemented by UNEP and is being executed by UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center. So what the project intends to do basically is to support countries in their transition to the enhanced transparency framework. So we are actually supporting many different countries, especially developing countries, as we know that this year is actually a crunch time for countries to submit their first BTR. And we also know that countries are at different levels. There are different challenges that are being faced by countries in terms of how they can actually put together their first BTR. So the CBIT-GSP is actually here to offer that kind of support, and we work through the regional network coordinators, and Sheila here is one of them. And we have 10 networks which are actually organized in the different regions. Some are actually organized by language. As you hear, there's Anglophone Africa, but we also have in Africa the Francophone group, and we also have Lusophone network, Asia, Pacific, Caribbean, and the Latin-speaking countries. So what we do, we support countries in different modalities. So our support is basically additional to what you receive from the enabling activities and also from CBIT project. We know that many countries are actually implementing national CBIT project, but our support is quite additional and very targeted to actually support you in different areas where you actually need support. So we support in institutional arrangements to actually help countries how they can formalize their institutional arrangement. We also offer support in terms of technical trainings and capacity building in the different elements of the ETF. And we also work with countries. What we actually want to intensify, especially this year, is to handhold countries and work with countries in specific areas. But all this help basically depends on you requesting the support. So we are just mentioning that this is the support that is available, but what we actually request from countries is actually to really come forward and request the support that you need. And we are hopeful that we are starting this year. We know that many countries are actually starting the journey of developing their first BTR, and we thought it is very important to actually start with one of the most important elements, which is talking to planning for the BTR, because we know as we know by the MPGs that we actually start from what is already existing. We know that countries have been doing national communications, and lately many countries have started also working on the BUR. So there are processes in the different countries, but how can we plan well to ensure that we are able to submit these reports on time? We barely have already 10 months left with us to actually meet the deadline, and most countries haven't started to even put together the teams that are supposed to start working on the BTR. So it is very important that we actually make use of the time to understand what institutional gaps are there and what is it that we can use to leverage ourselves to ensure that we fast track some of the elements, what capacities exist on the ground in the different countries, and what elements of the BTR we want to actually put forward in our first BTR. Understanding that the first BTR, we should make sure that we are not really the true enemy of perfection. It is not expected that it should be perfect, but what is important is actually the milestone of starting the journey and making sure that we already put together those elements that are mandatory in the BTR, and the CBIT-GSP is here to support you in those different elements. So we have been working with different countries in other regions where we support them in filling out the NDC tracking tables, and we work with countries, we pair some countries, and we actually work with also different countries in the different elements of GSG inventories. So to help countries to put together some data and build capacity on certain key categories of their inventories. So this is basically what we do, and we are just here to save you as countries. And please do make use of this opportunity to actually request support from the GSP don't really get stuck. And if you also want us to outline the key elements from the MPGs, as we know that the teams are actually working on this area, some of them are not familiar with the MPGs. Sheila is here to actually support you on those elements. So I hope that we are going to actually learn a lot. We are working with different partners, and today we are going to look at how to use the BTR roadmap created by our partners, FAO and PATPA, and how it can actually help us to understand the different requirements of the BTR, but also how we can strategically, as countries, align ourselves to ensure that we get the BTRs done on time. And I'm also really looking forward to the experience that is going to be shared by the different countries in terms of how they have started the planning processes. And we hope that we are going to learn a lot from each other. With that, thank you very much, colleagues. I'm very excited and looking forward to interacting with you in this webinar. Thank you. Sheila, you are muted. We are not able to hear you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kesiwe, for that general overview of how GSP is supporting the enhanced transparency process globally. Today, I will just take us through the general overview, but I will start by emphasizing the guiding principles according to the modalities, procedures, and guidelines for ETF, so that as we start, as our first step, we do not ignore the general principles. And one of the principles is building on and enhancing the transparency arrangements under the convention, recognizing special circumstances of the least developed countries and small island developing states, and implementing transparency framework in a facilitative, non-intrusive, non-punitive manner, respecting national sovereignty and avoiding placing undue burden on parties. That is a very key principle. And then the second one is the importance of facilitating improved reporting and transparency over time, which means, like Kesiwe had mentioned, that we should actually start with what we have, knowing that there's an opportunity to improve over time. Then providing flexibility to those developing country parties that need it in the light of their capacities. I know as we go along in our webinar series, we shall have a series where we are actually discussing how countries are implementing the flexibility provisions within the MPGs. And I think it will be very interesting if we focus element by element so that we can continue learning. Then another principle is about promoting transparency, accuracy, completeness, consistency, and comparability. Another one is avoiding duplication of work and undue burden on parties and the secretariat. So this one, we can start with what we have, building on what we have without really repeating the work that was already done under the different reportings like the BUR and the national communications, especially the work that we already have on the JG inventory. And then the other principle is F, ensuring that parties maintain at least the frequency and quality of reporting in accordance with their respective obligations under the convention. And then the second last one is ensuring that double counting is avoided, and then ensuring environmental integrity. And then generally, with the implementation of the ETF of the Paris Agreement, of course, countries are called to present their first BTR in accordance to the MPGs not later than 31st December 2024. But I know most countries are just starting, so we have to see how we can fast track the process so that we can meet the deadline. Then BTRs will provide information on actions taken and process made in mitigation, adaptation, and support provided required or received. But most importantly, just the different sections, elements on the different sections of the BTRs, or within the BTR contents. And then the information collected through BTR will be incorporated of course, to contribute to the global stocktake, which will evaluate the collective progress towards the long-term climate goals. And then it should also be mentioned that the transition towards BTR and MPGs implies an increase in quantity, detail, and rigor of information to be presented mainly for developing countries. And for this reason, it is utmost importance that countries begin to analyze their current arrangements, capabilities, and generate action plans to meet deadlines to 2024 December. Just to mention that we have been engaging some countries that requested for support on how to start the first steps. And when we are doing this, we are working with a tool for developing the BTR roadmap, which was developed by PATPA and FAO. And the photo you are seeing here is South Sudan going through the process. The good thing with this process, I will be elaborating the good outcomes. Countries are able to understand how to set up work teams, their terms of reference at national level, especially government staff, but also considering what kind of responsibilities should the different countries give to the consultants who will be coming to support that are not part of the government team. So the roadmap generates the upfront outlook on how countries intend to implement their BTR, but also it helps countries to have proper planning and also attract funds, because it kind of helped during the process. It helps them to establish the capacity gaps where more time is required in terms of the capacities available and what is required for the first parts of the BTR. But it gives an opportunity for a country to also assess the scope of their reporting, and also gives a hint on what flexibility scope they will undertake. So from the previous network meeting, as you can remember, we had a question on the status of the first BTR, and we realized that for most of the countries, they had already, the project was yet to be approved, and they were yet to start. So I hope maybe this status has changed. We even could be having more countries that have already started the process. And we had only one country that said that it had already started. And we had two countries that were saying that work is already in progress, but some of the countries had not yet started. And then we had another question where we asked countries their likelihood of submitting December 2024. We had many countries acknowledge that they very likely they will have submitted. But one country said somehow likely, somewhat unlikely. 4 countries, and other countries like 3 mentioned that very unlikely. And then mentioning about flexibility and how countries would be able to implement the provisions of flexibility according to the MPGs, most countries agreed that to a larger extent, they will be able to implement the flexibility provisions in the MPGs. But we have 4 countries that said they were not sure, but 3 countries said that yes, to some extent they will be providing. But then for me, from this slide, we realize that if there is any need for support on the specific elements that a country need to understand, maybe application of the flexibility provisions, we can have some of those sessions. They might not necessarily require a lot of resources. We can have an online session like this, and we support on how we can fast track application of those provisions, but also if there are any capacity gaps on how some elements are not moving to how they have been planned, we can also support that process. So while we are implementing the tool is an Excel-based database, which provides an interface on homepage. But when you click the tool menu, it takes you to these different steps. Down here are 6 steps. But most importantly, the tool has 6 steps that a country goes through before a roadmap can be developed. And there's an opportunity when a roadmap is developed to go back and assess, analyze, and see that you can actually adjust a few elements to make it more realistic to the country context. Yes, most of the answers are given based on the country context, but also based on the different maybe institutional arrangements, how countries have been able to integrate some elements on archiving data and also maintaining capacities for certain elements. A roadmap can be adjusted to now represent a country specific situation. And a roadmap, when is developed, it looks like this. And this roadmap you see here, as you can see, the journey for developing their BTR started in January 2020, meaning that where they had needed capacity building, the processes for capacity building has been going on between 2020, 2021 up to 2022. And the compilation, validation of all the information was already done, and by 2025, based on this country, they will have their BTR submitted in December 2024. But even now, when a country, for instance, says they will start in March, we can go through the different questions. The roadmap can look differently, but it helps to know which areas need more capacity support, which areas need fast tracking, how do we strategize to remove maybe the provided 4 months that are required, for instance, to build capacity, to reduce them to maybe 1 month. How do we join teams for the different elements to work together so that we reduce on the time that would have been spent maybe on the projections and on the mitigation impacts. So all that can be done if a country can go through the roadmap development process. It helps to reorganize the team, but also put effort where it's needed. And it's a very good tool that can inform fast tracking of the elements that are not going on very well. So usually when we are working with countries, we handle it online, and we go through like 3 to 4 sessions, depending on how the country is moving and the state of the country. But we have also had an opportunity for some countries which we have handled that we provide capacity during the process. Sometimes you find that the team that has been set up does not maybe have some knowledge on what the BTR content, so we provide that kind of capacity. So along the way, there is a lot of learning, and I would encourage countries to request for that support so that it can help to reorganize, also fast track the process. So I would like to thank you, and please do not hesitate to reach out to us, to any of us, for any support that might be required. So thank you so much. So at this moment, I would like to invite our colleague from Rwanda. If there are any questions, I will invite our colleague from Rwanda, Madame Pearl, to share experience on how they are starting their process. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Sheila. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Sheila, Ketsiwe, and the CBIT-GSP team for giving Rwanda this opportunity to share our experience in the BTR preparation. You'll allow me, I'll just narrate. I wasn't able to prepare a presentation, but I will go as much in deep as possible. So like any other country, this is a new experience, but we tried to prepare ourselves accordingly using the various support that is available to us. So in the NDC update process, we considered the BTR preparation, which helped us to start this a little earlier. So when the NDC was updated in 2020, shortly after that, we had an MRV, Measurement Reporting and Verification Framework, that was developed to support implementation of our NDC. And this MRV framework took into consideration so many components, including institutional arrangements, development of measurable indicators, everything that would help us to implement our NDC and achieve the targets that we set. So as part of this MRV, we had components on reporting as well. So the BTR, for example, benefits from the MRV setup because we have what they call the NDC MRV Technical Working Committee. And this is a committee that is supposed to heavily support the BTR preparation. So REMA, Rwanda Environment Management Authority, is the agency or the institution that is tasked to report under the convention. And we were given the same, we were given the mandate to continue this role even under the ETF. So when the MRV framework was being developed, REMA was tasked to set up this NDC MRV Technical Working Committee. And right now it is in place. And this Technical Working Committee has a role to, for example, collect data on the NDC MRV indicators. We review reports that are developed to contribute to the chapters of the BTR. And REMA is the chair of this NDC Technical Working Committee. So it has really played a big role in preparation of the BTR. We also have a lot of support from various partners. As Sheila was mentioning, we were supported by PATPA and the CBIT-GSP team to develop a roadmap for our BTR and really assess where we were in terms of preparation and if we'll be able to submit before December 2024. We were given various scenarios. We went through that same process that Sheila has demonstrated, and we were given up to 3 scenarios. And considering our situation, the scenarios were doing the different activities in parallel, the different chapters, greenhouse gas inventory, working on support needed and received the support chapter, the NDC tracking chapter. These, we were given a scenario where we can work on them in parallel. Then we were also given a scenario where we can have flexibility GHG projections and flexibility GHG and mitigation impact, that is the NDC tracking chapter. So just to give a bit of background, before I tell you the scenario we chose, we were fortunate enough during our national communication preparation process, we have reached the 4th national communication now. We decided to do an inventory that would also be appropriate for the BTR. So our inventory we are currently completing starts from 1990 up to 2022. So that has facilitated us to kind of, be ahead or save time on preparation of the GHG inventory. So we are hoping to add 2023 as well, if time and data allows, but we should be prepared enough to do the greenhouse gas inventory chapter without trouble. So we thought that among the 3 scenarios, we would choose the scenario where we work in parallel, work on the chapters in parallel, because the GHG inventory, which is one key, the national inventory report is one key component of the BTR, and it's almost at completion stage. So with this scenario, most likely a preparation of the different content and the compilation of the chapters will be finalize around July, and then we will have July to maybe September to December as a period for compilation of the entire BTR, approval internally, approval at the Ministry of Environment, and then eventually submission to the Secretariat of UNFCCC. So this is the most appropriate scenario for us, and we are really trying to be as ambitious as possible and get as much support as possible, especially on the reporting tools, so that we meet our deadline. Moving away from the scenarios, we also have received capacity building support from various partners, including the French Development Agency, where we are working with a firm called CITEPA that is helping us to learn some very important methodologies for quantifying our mitigation outcomes or the mitigation impact. So we are hoping to get a lot of knowledge and apply those methodologies in NDC for the NDC tracking chapter. We are also receiving support from the CBIT-GSP, of course, from the Anglophone Network. We participate in network meetings and ensure that we get as much resources from your team as possible. We also have support, of course, from the GEF, because the project that prepares the BTR has a capacity building component, and we take advantage of those funds to make sure that we gain capacity, especially on the reporting tools for NDC tracking and for support. Yes, I think I have not missed out anything. If you have some questions for me, you can please, you're welcome to ask them. I should be able to share documentation of this if it will help, and be as much help as possible. Thank you so much, Sheila.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pearl, and I would like to really thank you for sharing a lot of details and key steps that Rwanda took to reach a stage of making decisions to use scenarios to fast track the process. And like you mentioned, it's really a bit very ambitious, but I can see, I think we are there. So this is really encouraging for other countries that it is very possible to actually have an ambitious plan where you have efforts, but also combine different capacities to be able to achieve our towards the deadline of December 2024. So I will open up a session for any questions, and I think they are in order at this stage. Any questions? I do not see any hand. Yes, I can see Lovetta. Kindly unmute and then speak.
Thank you very much, Sheila, and thank you, Pearl. I hope I pronounced it well. I'm Lovetta from Sierra Leone. Thank you for sharing your experience and what you've done so far. I'm actually interested in the NDC-MRV Technical Working Committee. How was that set up, and at what level are they operating? Is it at the national level, or if you have regions or counties or district level? And how do they work? Because I know it's key for them, because they're going to be involved in the development of the BTR, or they are already involved. So we want to learn from that, because we in Sierra Leone, we have NDC, National NDC Committee, and then we also have regional NDC committees. If you have an MRV NDC committee, I think that's very, very key, and that's one highlight from your presentation. So I wanted to know if it's at these different levels or not. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much, Lovetta. The NDC MRV Technical Working Committee is at national level, similar to yours. And how it works. We have focal points from line ministries We have focal points from key agencies, even though they may be in a line ministry. And then we have, of course, REMA. Then we have private sector and CSOs. So that committee, of course, for example, in the energy sector, we have transport. The Transport Development Agency, RTDA, and the Ministry of Infrastructure are represented in this committee. And they, within their sector, they have what we call a sector working group. So the sector working group is where they pick as much information as possible, where we have people from local at district level, we have people from sector level that report to that sector working group. So each of these sectors have sector working groups, including the environment and climate change subsector. So we depend on those to get information on, for example, the NDC indicators, which are very key to such people. So it builds off of existing kind of planning and monitoring structures that exist in Rwanda. So that's how we coordinate with them and we get as much information. So the focal point from that specific sector works closely with other people from those different working groups, and then we get all the information that we need. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you very much. I also want to ask, sorry, I don't know if I didn't hear it. Is the private sector considered in these committees? Because I had CSO, I had line ministries. Oh, okay. Okay.
We have private sector, especially people that contribute to the greenhouse gas inventory. Those are very key. We have their representation in that committee. We also have what we call the private sector federation. So we can't cover every private sector kind of, they can't be fully represented, but the private sector federation has a representative just in case we need input from any other private sector person that we haven't included. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Pearl, and thank you so much, Lovetta, for that interesting question and the discussion. I would like to ask other members to ask questions. And if they don't have a question, I just want to ask for further clarification about the committee. Does it have like terms of reference, or have they institutionalized their roles within their mother institutions? And also, do they have like regular meetings where they have to meet and discuss, and maybe even regular sharing of data requirements from your side? How are they handling that? Because that part of operationalization is still a very big challenge in most countries. The committees are set, but when it comes to the functionality in terms of how do you then facilitate their meetings, how do you facilitate how they were able to institutionalize them, all those, it would be interesting to know. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Sheila. Yeah, we also have challenges like any other country, but that committee right now is based off of focal points. We have focal points for those different institutions. It's not yet, for example, we don't have a permanent staff. So when a staff leaves, that is a bit of, we receive some challenge. But what we try to do is keep the position of that person and not the name. So the person that is nominated is not by name, but by position. So there are different positions that are already existing, but at least we make sure that once someone leaves, and then the replacement can take over in the committee. When it comes to meeting, we don't have, they do have terms of reference that we developed when we were setting up the committee, and we did this with them at the first committee meeting. But we do not have regular meetings. I'll have to check again. What we do is we as REMA call them, invite them for review workshops, for example. Those are very many, especially during this tight period that we are in. So, for example, when we were preparing the project implementation plan for the BTR, about 2 weeks ago, we invited them. And during that process, they review existing reports, for example, on chapters in the national communication. So we try to keep them, maybe if I can say, as busy as possible, because we need their input on the different, content that has been developed. So it is not as regular, but since we are just starting, hopefully we can have a more regular program with the committee.
Okay. Thank you so much. I do not see any other hand. I do not even see another comment or question in the chat. So I think it's at this moment where we can take a photo and then we shall thank Pearl after taking our photo. Yeah. Kindly put on your camera so that you can take a photo. Thank you.
Look at that, man.
Yes, I can see all the faces. I will take this first one. I can see someone has just removed their photo. I don't know why. Take one more. Well, thank you so much. I think I have been able to capture everyone, and thank you. So at this moment, I would like to thank Pearl for sharing. It was really very deep sharing, and I hope we have been able to learn a lot, because this is a first-time process for most of the countries, and I expect that we have been able to pick key points. We shall be able to document the key points, and you will find them on our platform from what Pearl has shared, and I hope you'll be able to follow on the platform and learn more. So it's at this moment that I will also invite Nigeria to share their experience. I hope Dr. Ewi is here with us. Doctor, kindly unmute and share. The floor is yours. I can see you are still muted.
Thank you so much, Sheila. I bring you greetings from the Department of Climate Change, Federal Ministry of the Environment. I would like to use this opportunity to thank your organization for this meeting. Thank you so much. And to start with the presentation, we'll go about the Nigeria's climate reporting journey. So I want to share the presentation now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. And also thank you from the colleague from Rwanda. That was an interesting presentation. And for us in Nigeria, it's a journey. It's a journey that we have to start, and we are going to present our journey through strengthening the institutional arrangement and enhancing transparency. The guidelines for this presentation has to go through our institutional arrangement, our initiatives for the biennial transparency, policy framework, and legislative support. We have our challenges and also the capacity building. We also have a coordination mechanism and the capacity building in place. So I would like to start with our introduction. For us, Nigeria, as a signatory to the International Climate Agreement, we are committed to transparently addressing climate change. And that draws on the comprehensive reporting mechanism. Nigeria has submitted its first and second biennial update report, and then the third national communication to the UNFCCC. So while we are also under the enhanced transparency reporting, we have to report on the biennial transparency. And then we have the biennial transparency report, and then the combined fourth national communication to be submitted by 2024, and then the combined national communication by 2026. So this presentation will just give us an overview of existing structural technical capacity and the relevant information regarding the approach for Nigeria in preparing a BTR. So in terms of the institutional arrangement from the department, we've initiated capacity building programs. And those capacity building programs is also in line with tracking progress with the national determined contribution, implementation, and the achievements that we have. So the department is also currently undergoing this institutional training, capacity training, to be able to institutionalize especially in terms of the greenhouse inventory, and then the tracking process through a coordinated interministerial climate change institution. So we are currently undergoing expansion of institutional mapping and relevant technical working groups to the subnationals as well. There is also capacity building of members of the technical working groups at the national and subnational levels on data collection, inventory, and compilation and reporting, which is also the way we are progressing in bringing together the reporting for the country. So in our initiative for the biennial transparency, Nigeria is actively preparing for its first biennial transparency, aligning with its commitment to the Paris Agreement. The BTR process involves integrating, just like I said, reporting mechanism with the tracking of our national determined contribution, ensuring that there is comprehensive and coherent reporting of climate actions. Nigeria's approach to the BTR reflects its dedication to fulfilling international reporting obligations while promoting sustainable development domestically. And it has to be in line, it has to really be domestically, because this outlines what we have to report on. And then how do we go about this? With our policy framework, and then with our legislative support as well. So Nigeria has established robust policy frameworks and legislative support that will underscore our climate reporting efforts. And just to bring your attention to the Climate Change Act, which is the Climate Change Act of the 2021 Climate Change Act, which has mandated the creation and implementation of climate change strategies, including reporting obligations to international bodies. Just, we all know the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. There's also sector-specific legislation supplements this effort, ensuring that data collection and reporting standards are maintained across various sectors of the economy. And just to, I would like to still go on to the interministerial committee on climate change, because this committee is very crucial for the climate reporting in terms of the various line ministries, with each well represented with the focus group, be it the CSO, NGO, the academia, the private sector, all are being involved in this interministerial committee. And these are two aspects, because we also have the technical, there's a technical working group, and then there is the high level, which is to the ministerial level also, to also bring into place what has been, committing everyone into place what has been done. And then for us, we also have challenges and our opportunities as well, like in terms of implementation and enforcement, particularly ensuring compliance across sectors in our reporting. And then there's also the challenges present for strengthening coordination, enhancing capacity building. And even though we are also having, which are in the face of these challenges also, there are also breakthroughs from support that we also have, as earlier as talking about the strengthening of the institutional framework, to see how we can institutionalize those institutionalize the focal the line ministries, and then representative of this supporting group to be able to have this build capacity to understand what needs to be done when we are reporting. And then we also have the coordination mechanism and capacity building, which I've also talked about in terms of the coordination. I know I had jumped over, but it's still in line with the Interministerial Committee on Climate Change, and then continuous capacity building. And then we also have coordination gaps, and then capacity building. And then from the Act, yes, the Act has also, we also have gaps, coordination gaps, but then again, there are also deepening synergy between the National Council on Climate Change and then with the Department of Climate Change, because we also have a collaboration and deepening synergy to be able to put up a framework, a pathway, and on how to, for our reporting system for the country, yes. And then in terms of the capacity building, while there are adequate human resources, there's capacity gaps and inadequate financial resources. This also poses challenges. And then we also need to have continuous training programs that deem essential for enhancing skills related to our reporting. Yes, so we have the technical assistance, and then we also have future needs. And then from, just to mention, for the BTR, for Nigeria, it's the inception. Nigeria has done the inception of the BTR, but there are other line activities that needs to be roadmap, and then the pathway, like we like our colleague from Rwanda mentioned about the scenarios. So we are getting there, and then we are just started. I know it has taken time has passed with some delays, but then again we are on track to get to 2024 to be able to make a first submission. Yes, and then the support from your end. I know the department has been reaching out, and then support from your end. And then we also have, just to bring us back, the technical assistance and then the future needs. We identify needs for technical assistance tools and resources to streamline reporting process. This assistance will aid in enhancing the efficiency and accuracy of reporting activities, ensuring compliance with the UNFCCC requirement. And then future needs and recommendation, we need continuous training, capacity enhancement, and essential, particularly in data collection and emission calculations. Policy and institutional changes are necessary to strengthen Nigeria's reporting effort. Needs to improve data access and institutional arrangement for the national climate change action are vital to facilitate a transparent and effective reporting. So for us, I think we are on track, though there are delays, but something, we have started something, and we look forward for more support and then collaboration, and then hearing from the peer review where we are, and then what we can buy in to also incorporate in our work to see that we've been able to make submission. Nigeria will be able to commit and then make submission at the end of the by 2024. And so Nigeria's commitment to transparency and accountability in climate reporting is evident through its comprehensive institutional arrangement and policy frameworks. So there is need for continuous effort to strengthen institutional capacities and enhance transparency. These are all essential to fulfill our climate reporting obligations and contribute meaningfully to the global climate action. So I would like to stop here, and if there's any question, yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doctor, for sharing. I think this has been very rich and deep, especially how the previous reporting and how they have created a very good foundation for the BTR enhanced transparency reporting. I will not really ask any question at this moment, but just to appreciate your presentation. I would like to give an opportunity to Anne. I can see Anne's hand is up. Anne, kindly unmute yourself if you have any comment or question to ask to.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Sheila.
Yes, hello. I can hear you. We can hear you.
Greetings from Nigeria. My name is Anne. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Anne Umar from the National Council on Climate Change in Nigeria. So I'd like to add just a few words from what my colleague from the Federal Ministry of Environment just said. I would like to give a brief rundown on our reporting obligation and how Nigeria has fared so far. So let me start by saying, trying to introduce the current circumstance in the country right now. Nigeria has been a political will of demonstrated political will in the area of ensuring that the climate change action is promoted in the country. So the government decided to approve the Climate Change Act. So the Climate Change Act was established, and there are other line ministries in turn that will align and work alongside what the Act says. in order to promote climate action in the country. So upon this approval of the Climate Change Act, the National Council on Climate Change was established. Now, the National Council on Climate Change is the focal point for UNFCCC in Nigeria. I think I need to say this so that you, in case you do not have information on that, Sheila, you can take note. So, and the National Council on Climate Change has other line ministries working with them alongside the Federal Ministry of Environment, and they are responsible for coordinating climate change activities in Nigeria and also responsible for the reporting cycles in Nigeria. So having said that, I'd like to mention how far we have gone. My colleague from the Federal Ministry of Environment has said how far we have done on the reporting cycles. We have submitted 3 national communications and 2 biennial update reports, upon which we had the FSV last year in June. Then now we are in the process of preparing the first biennial transparency report. It has not been easy for us, being a new mechanism under the enhanced transparency framework of the Paris Agreement, but somehow we have to find a way with existing mechanism and institutions we have in Nigeria. We have to find a way to see how we can get the ground rolling and make sure we meet up our requirements under the UNFCCC by submitting in December 2024. So far, we have done the Inception workshop, which was held last year in December. So, and we have an international consultant who is working with us alongside other national consultants. And of course, with the constituted team from the National Council on Climate Change, who are working in different thematic areas to assist the national, international consultant working with us. So far, after the Inception workshop, we are still working remotely to see how we can make this happen, although we are behind schedule of submitting by December 31st this year. So what the next step we're about to embark on is having a training workshop, because we have lapses of activity data, getting activity data from the at the subnational level, not only at the national level, but subnational level. So internally, we developed a tool, a template, a tool that will aid data providers to be able to key in the important information, important data we need in the various thematic areas, the 4 IPCC sector and other information needed in the BTR. Because we know now we have to report on we have to mitigation action, which has to be from the NDC. We also have to report on the inventory, which is also a bit hectic for us, because if we do not have the activity data required, we will not be able to get the inventory right. So now we also we are working on having to find the financial inflow, because we have to report on the financial and technical support received and needed. So we have to find a way to get information of financial inflow into the country with respect to climate change action. As it has to do with the government budget, which is a bit low, the multilateral and bilateral financial information that we have received so far towards implementing this. So it's not easy, but like you said earlier, it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's our first reporting cycle on the BTR, but we just have to give our best, since it's the first one. So this template, like I said earlier, the internally developed tool, will be able to share at the state level or the state ministries. They will be able to use it, and also form a team within the state to gather activity data in the various cities in the various main cities in the state to be able to give us this information. Then we collect it at the federal level and be able to get the inventory right. So this is what we're doing so far here. Like I said, it's not easy, but we'll try as we can to see how we can make this work. Like you said earlier, it's the first trial. So we're all trying our best, although, of course, the funding is there from Jeff, but we also need technical support, like this UNFCCC tool that we need for the the MPGs, the modalities, procedures and guidelines of reporting under the BTR. We need capacity in those areas, not just like in COP28. They had some training on these tools, but it was going alongside other events and meetings happening. So most of us were not able to follow through and focus on those workshops that were held then. We're just trying to manage, we go into this meeting, we later come back to the transparency, the training of the reporting tools. So it's important that we have in-person training concerning this reporting tool, not just within the COP, but outside the COP, so that people can focus. And because it's a bit technical, it's too technical, it's not, so you don't need to lose focus while this training is going on. So this is my own suggestion regarding this. In order not to waste your time, please, this is where I end. If there's any other further information, and before I leave, please, I would like you to take note of the introductory part of my intervention regarding the status of climate change implementation in Nigeria. Thank you very much. So I'll leave it for now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think it was really elaborate, like you have mentioned, especially the first part. Because I already had a question in the chat, I think the first part has been answered, Lovetta, by the elaboration from Anne, especially in her first presentation about the political arrangement and how they are trying to handle the different elements based on the political arrangement. But I will not really talk so much because I can see other hands, because we do not have a lot of time. I can see a hand from the department, and then after we shall also listen from Wales. I can see a hand from the department. Kindly unmute yourself and speak. And I will also request Doctor to maybe stop presenting me. I think you remove the presentation from our screen so that maybe others can also present. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Greetings from Geneva, where I'm representing the country alongside with the Honorable Minister of Environment on the decarbonizing inland transport by 2050, which has a component of national reporting. Then let me use the opportunity to unmask myself. I am Dr. Inyobong Abiola Awe, Director, Department of Climate Change, and my presentation was made by the Desk Officer within the department out in Nigeria. I have taken time to listen on the sidelines because I'm kind of multitasking, having to be online to attend to this session and also provide the technical support required by my minister here in Geneva. The presentation that was made earlier on my behalf was a presentation for Nigeria, and with the added one made by Anne, I just want to use the opportunity to clarify that there is actually no demarcation in terms of work. In terms of institutional memory, we have the Department of Climate Change that has in the past delivered on the first, the second, the third national reporting, the BUR 1 and 2, and the BTR, which is expected to be done by Nigeria. The GEF resides within the Ministry of Environment to provide the support for the financing of the BTR, which is right now providing a little, what you call, should I consider discrepancy in terms of providing leadership for the development of the BTR, but there is still the challenge of the clarification in terms of roles between this new institution that is actually the national focal point and the institutional memory to deliver on the national reporting. But we are working on synergizing, providing deeper sense of collaboration to deliver on the national commitments to the UNFCCC on reporting. So it's a holistic approach to effectively deliver on Nigeria's national reporting. The operationalization of the council, which is to provide or spearhead the aspects of climate change as the focal point, may have the challenges of delivering on reporting without institutional memory. So this collaboration is required deeply, and that can be regarded as one of the challenges that we have in Nigeria. The operationalization of the council does not and limits its operationalization to the subnational, which enables the ministry as the overarching body to deliver on the subnational responsibilities of reporting. This is also a clarification that would enable Nigeria also to provide direction in terms of national reportings and also subnational reportings with the different responsibilities of the different institutions. Which also brings me to another challenge of the institutional arrangement that should provide the effective delivery of national reportings. The UNDP, which is supposed to spearhead all of this, may also be seen as providing some inadequacy in terms of gaps and workabilities of its functions for parties in country. So there must be a need to look at some of the ways in which it approaches its guiding work in country for parties in terms of support. This may also be seen as another challenge. Holistically, for us in Nigeria, we're still grappling with having to give a proper sense of direction in terms of reporting, but we're grappling with it sustainably to deliver effectively and with the timeline ahead of us. And we're not out of place, we're not out of line, but this would be done in due course and in time. Thank you, Sheila, for all the supports in the past, all the supports right now, and we still look forward to your future support. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doctor, and thank you so much for taking off time on your busy schedule on a mission to really attend to this. And I think it has really elaborated and streamlined the challenges you are facing as Nigeria are being faced elsewhere. And I think it is very interesting how countries are learning on how to organize institutional arrangements and then also integrate some of the systems within the different existing institutional arrangements to support enhanced transparency reporting. And for me, this is a very good example because some of the countries have failed to start thinking that institutions have to be well organized for them to start. But I think Nigeria has, as Kes has stated, a very, very good example on how you can still start and then organize the institutions as you go along. I would like to take this opportunity to invite Wills, who has his hand up to share with us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sheila, and good afternoon, everyone. I am Willis Agricole from the Seychelles. I'm the national focal point for the ETF and, of course, BTR. As far as Seychelles is concerned, institutional arrangement, it's working quite well. We have the Ministry of Agriculture, Climate Change and Environment, whereby the Department of Climate Change is in there. So the fact that we've been carried out national communication, we've just completed our third national communication, and also our first BTR under this institution, and we found out that it's working quite well. But my question I wanted to ask is that as far as BTR is concerned, is there a clear suggested outline for preparing the BTR? And my second question is that how do parties track progress in the implementation and the achievement of the NDCs? But of course, obviously, it must be through the submission of the BTR. So most probably Sheila or somebody else can clarify that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for those two questions about the BTR outline. In terms of, I don't know if you mean the contents. Yes, there's already a provision of the BTR contents, what is supposed to be in the BTR report. That one exists. And if you need any like run through or walk through the different contents, I think we can organize with Seychelles and we take you through. And then about how parties are tracking progress on their NDC, I think Rwanda shared some bits of examples, but the microphone is very open. If someone wants to share that, they can be able to share, but also my colleague Kesiwe is here, she can share experiences from other countries that we are working with. But I think I would like also at this moment to invite Namibia. Namibia also has some elements to share. I think as they share, you will realize that some of your questions will be answered because I think they have already done some work on how they are planning to track their NDC progress. So I would like to take this opportunity to invite Namibia. I hope, Regan, you're still with us. Thank you. But please use the chat. Colleagues, use the chat to ask questions. We are all learning. This is our first webinar of the series of BTR. And I hope that we should be able to learn more as we go along. Regan, kindly unmute your microphone.
Yes, thanks, Sheila. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'll be very brief as I have to dash out for another meeting, so I'll move quite fast. But yeah, nonetheless, we can share my contacts for future interactions. We can, I think, take the discussion further. I think for Namibia's case, we have started with the BTR 1 and NC5 process since last year. I think we kind of used the CBIT project to really kickstart some of the requirements under the ETF, to close some of the data gaps, to really set up, so to say, an institutional arrangement. So though not the perfect ideal situation due to the fact that we still do not have a climate change act yet, but yeah, we do have a sort of an institutional arrangement which we are currently using. So just to say that the Minister of Environment, which is obviously the focal to the UNFCCC, is the one coordinating specifically the climate change unit under that ministry, is the one coordinating or has been coordinating the previous BURs and NCs. So we use the same structures for the BTR process also. So under there we have a dedicated coordinating unit, which is headed by myself and a couple other colleagues, which are basically there for the day-to-day running and also liaising with the working groups. So under that, we have also developed sector working groups, where we have, for each IPC sector, we have a sector lead, which we have identified. For example, the energy sector is being led by the Minister of Mines and Energy, who then coordinates with the various institutions like your roads authorities, all other institutions which falls under the energy sector, and feeds that data now to the Ministry for Computation, and also they help in reviewing the document. So at this moment, the sector leads are really mostly for review and data collection, I think, as it was explained by the colleagues from Rwanda. So what we have done also, we have developed some data collection template. As we speak, we just had our last meeting with the GIG working group, really just to share the templates which we have developed for activity data collection. We train them on those activity data templates which we have developed, and they are currently busy collecting the data and feeding it to us. I think the last deadline was a week ago, so we're looking at starting the computation and the report writing as soon as possible, because we have to finish the GHG inventory by the end of April, so that it can, though we started with the NDC tracking parallel, but it's still really for the GHG scenarios, we are still really waiting for at least the first draft of the inventory for it to be completed, because the current inventory we have is from the year 1990 to the year 2016. So we are adding 2017, 18, 19, and up to 2022. So that work is also ongoing in terms of adaptation. That's also started already. We are busy with data collection, desktop review, and also it's concluding by end of April. For support received, support needed, we haven't really kickstarted that work, but what we have done also under the CBIT project was to develop the data collection templates on support received, support needed. This will then help facilitate the process of collecting that data in a much more coordinated manner with the sector leads. We are also busy finalizing our quality control and quality assurance plan, which we had started under the CBIT project, which will basically help to improve the transparency, completeness, and quality of our GHG report. And on top of that, we are developing what we call an MRV, monitoring, reporting, and verification, which is currently a portal, so to say, data depository portal, just to help us organize the data, that it's in one central place. It can be easily be extracted and be used. And we are working very closely with the Namibia Statistics Agency on that portal, as they do already have the mandate to really be the depository of these national statistics. So we are trying to put a lot of systems in place. Like you said, Sheila, I think it's still a learning process for all of us, and some systems are not working as perfect as we'd hope them to work. But I think, like you said, that countries shouldn't wait for the systems to be perfectly working for them to start with the process. Rather start with the process and learn on the way and see where improvements can be made for future reportings. I think in a nutshell, that's where we are. We are really hoping to have most of the components, especially the inventory, completed by April. Look at May, June to finalize the NDC tracking, and then the support, and then hopefully we'll have, we are being ambitious. The second name for Namibia is the land of the brave. So we are trying to be brave, and they have this report to be submitted come December 2024. So I think in a nutshell, that was from us. I did not prepare from a presentation, but if there are any questions or if emails can be shared, and then if there are any other follow-up questions that can be done, as we really have to rush into another meeting as we speak. Thank you, Sheila, back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Regan, for that general overview of how you're doing. I think it really provides the key elements, and I will take note of the key elements, which I will share on the platform, just in case there's need for any follow-up. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, Sheila, we can hear you from our side.
Okay, it was saying that as if my network is funny. So I would like to really appreciate your general overview. It was very quick, but very on point. I think I have taken note of the key points on how you are progressing, and I will be able to share that in one slide on the platform. And in case there are colleagues here who would want to learn from Namibia, we are also organizing peer learning events, mutual learning events. Kindly reach out if there is any element you have felt that you can learn from Nigeria, you can learn from Rwanda, you can learn from Namibia. We can support organizing that. Of course, we have to work together to look for resources, but most importantly is to push and be able to fast track some of the processes. And I've liked the ambitious plan to be able to submit by 2024. So if we don't have any other questions, I'm counting Anne's hand as the previous hand. I would like to take this opportunity to invite Kisiwe to answer the question from Seychelles about how our party is tracking progress. Maybe she can share experiences from other countries, especially those countries we are handling that are not in Africa. But if there is anyone here from a country where they have already made a clear strategy on how they will be tracking progress in the NDC, it would be very important that they share if there are any tools that they have adopted. I know there are tools like that a tool that we shared during our Pretoria meeting from that is developed by FAO. We know that Ghana has been able to develop some of the country developed tool on NDC tracking. So kindly share your experiences. It will be very important for a peer learning, to learn from each other, and also to develop country-specific tools that are easy to use and can easily be interpreted at national level. So I'll take this opportunity to give Kisiwe a few minutes to maybe share if there are any clear or any tools that she knows that she can share with the Seychelles. Yeah.
Thank you, Sheila. Thanks, Willis, for that question. Basically, I think what I would like to say is that this is based on...
your volume is very low. I don't know if it's on my side, but I think it could be also on the other colleagues.
Okay, I'll try my best to increase
Oh
my
yeah,
volume.
now it's fine.
I
Yeah,
missed my
the
mic,
microphone.
was far away, yes. Just to say that the guidance in terms of reporting on the BTR and also, of course, tracking NDC, this is under Decision 5, CMA 3, which is the Glasgow decision, which is actually operationalizing the MPGs under the ETF. So we have part of those decisions or guidance is actually the outline on the BTR, which is actually outlining the different elements. It's actually a very good outline, a starting space. And I know that most of the other elements, especially on the GHG inventories, of course, is something that countries have been reporting on, but it's important to take note of the new requirements under the MPGs. And then we have Section 3, Chapter 3, which is actually now on tracking progress, which is actually where the different elements in terms of the information that is required to track progress on your NDC is. And basically, this is where also other countries and other tools are built on this kind of information. So what is important for countries, I think from our experiences working with different countries, is actually many countries need to understand. I think what is important to say here is it's important to understand your NDC. That is very important for you to be able to actually fill out or understand or track progress of your NDC. So we have worked with different countries to actually help them to actually put smart indicators of their NDC, because you have an NDC. I think the next step is actually to understand what kind of indicators you have or you need for your NDC to track progress. And it is these indicators that are actually very important to take note of. And also, in your NDC, you have policies, measures, and actions and plans that we have put in place that are actually helping you to meet the bigger goal or target of your NDC. And it is these policies, measures, and actions that also you need indicators for. And these are actually very important elements because these are your milestones that help you to achieve the bigger target of your NDC. So in most NDCs, you find that they have an absolute target or they have a deviation from a business as usual. So the major indicator is the inventory. So you look at how you are reducing your emissions, but how you are reducing your emissions, this is being done through the policies, measures, and actions and plans that we have put in place. So therefore, it is important to have smart indicators for those. And like Pearl from Rwanda has mentioned, their MRV actually is based on those key elements that are actually coming from the guidance. They have understood what are these measures and policies that they need, and they've taken a step further to identify the indicators and use that to actually inform the MRV of the NDC, because this is what you are going to track at the end of the day. So all the tools that are actually countries are using, they use the guidance from the COP26 decisions to actually develop any other tools. I think Ghana did the same, use this information that is required, and then you can develop an Excel-based tool. Some countries, they go use very simplified tools. Some countries go a little bit sophisticated and have kind of online systems. But what is important is knowing your NDC and having smart indicators for your NDC, and then you will be able to track progress of your NDC. So basically that is it, Willis, that is very important to know. And to mention that we also work with countries, the CBIT-GSP work with countries to help you actually identify smart indicators for your NDC and prepare you to start tracking progress of those smart indicators. So if this is a place where you may need support, you can reach out to Sheila, and we can be able to provide you. And also, if you need to understand a little bit more the guidance on operationalizing the MPGs, we are here to support you also on those different elements of whatever support that you need. So thank you very much, Sheila.
Yeah, thank you so much for highlighting that. I think it is now more clear for Wills. And then I can see a hand from Mr. Tamba Emma. Kindly unmute yourself. We have gone 3 minutes above our planned time, but I think it's a good discussion. We can give it more 5 minutes before we can close. Mr. Tamba, please.
Yeah, thank you. I'm calling from Sierra Leone. I work in the Department of Climate Change in the Environment Protection Agency. And of course, Willie, I think, asked a question with regards tools in the tracking progress of NDC. I want to share what we have done as a country. Of course, we have joined the NDC partnership. I don't know if most of you guys are familiar or aware about the NDC partnership. And so we are a member of that particular family. And so they have assisted us as a country, to translate our NDC implementation plan that is in the Word format into an online tracking tool or mechanism. They call it is the online partnership planning tool with indicators developed and for us to be able to track progress in the implementation of the NDC. And also part of that particular online partnership planning tool, there is a particular interface that tracks resources that have trickled down into the country that addresses climate action. And so you will be able to track how much of the resources have trickled into your country and which institution is delivering on that particular and what is the source of the fund. And so the partnership was able to do that for us. And so the tool was, I think, last month, it was when we validated it with different stakeholders and also some key sectors were brought in to be trained because it is a tool that has to be utilized by not only the agency, but by other line ministry, like for instance, the energy sector, transport, waste, agriculture, all of them have a very critical role to play in the delivering of the NDC. Because if you look at the NDC, most of the activities and programs hinge on the delivery of those line ministry. And so they were also trained on how to interface and utilize and use that particular tool to be able to track progress. There are tools, I believe, and there are, we were also opportune to, I think, visit Ghana, and we saw the tools they have developed in tracking progress of their NDC, and it was very impressive. As you rightly said, if you want to track progress of your NDC, of course, you have to understand what it is exactly in your NDC. Because if you don't know what is inside here, then of course it will be very, very much difficult for you to be able to track what you don't know about. And so that is how far we have gone and the progress we have made with regards our NDC implementation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that sharing. And I think it was really, really very well elaborate, the tools on how you have been able to go about it with support from the NDC partnership, but also where you had an opportunity to learn from a country on how they have done it, and then it made more sense, or it was made easier for you to be able to implement at national level. So at CBIT Global Support Program, we also support coordination of learning, mutual learning. We shall be starting our mutual learning sessions around March for adaptation, and I hope when I call upon your adaptation teams, they will be able to join the teams, the different series for adaptation learning. But we shall also be running another series on the BTR progress, on how we are progressing. And I would like to take this opportunity, of course, to thank all the presenters, the contributors, but also the participants for this meeting. I hope we have been able to pick something, and I would like to just ask you to allow me to run the last session of the Menti, where I will be requesting you to get your Menti, the Menti code that is on your screen, to be able to download the Menti app on your machines, the laptops, the phones, and then you give us feedback on the different questions, because it's very important for us. Of course, would like to know where you are joining us from today. It is very important to know the countries that have been able to attend, and then how satisfied you are with the webinar. I can see not many people have joined the Menti. So the code is 3977 4 times. So 3977 4 times. Kindly give us your feedback. It's very important to understand how we can improve these webinars, and also what other webinars are required in future. It's very important. I know today's meeting was well attended, and I appreciate that, because I know there are so many competing schedules, but you take off your time to join this very good webinar. We don't take that for granted, but I would also like to request that we shall be starting our forum discussions starting next week on the different good practices that are coming up from different countries. We shall be expecting you to utilize your forum. That forum is yours. When you do not use it, then it becomes very redundant, because it's not just for the developers, it's for you to learn from. We shall be posting different knowledge leaflets that we have synthesized from different countries to give us your view on what you are learning and what you can pick and how your country has done it. So we hope by next week the forum discussion groups will be live. So we shall be expecting to hear from you. And for those of you who have not yet registered on the platform, kindly register. It's called Climate Transparency Platform. We shall be, my colleague Kesiwa has put it in the chat. We shall be waiting to approve your registration at the shortest time possible, and we shall be happy that you are interacting well on the platform, because it's your platform. So far I can see only 6 participants answering our questions, but it would be nice that all of us participate, because your feedback helps us to become better. So kindly, you can continue even after the meeting, filling the Menti. It is very important that we get your feedback for future improvement, but also for for enhanced learning so that we know which topics we can concentrate on in future. The Menti code is in the chat. And if we do not have any questions or any contributions, I would like to say bye-bye for now. And thank you so much. Yes, I'm still looking at the Menti. Anyone with a question before we can conclude? I can see we have now 10 people. We were over 30 people. It would be nice we get as many responses as possible, especially representing the people who are in the meeting. It becomes very helpful for our future assessments on how our webinars are doing, especially since it's a capacity building program. And of course, especially the question on the which other topics do you want to learn from? It is very important. And please do not forget to reach out to me if there is any specific capacity building need that you would want. I'm always available. Everyone has my email. I can reach out and we make we plan on how we can reach out to you on those capacities that you need, most especially to fast track the BTR process. And I have liked today's sharing because at least there's a level of ambition where all countries want to at least meet the target of 2024, which is very encouraging. And going forward, I will even be reaching out in your inboxes on what capacities do you need. We can have 2-hour session online. So kindly do not hesitate to reach out to us. Yeah, thank you so much. I can see the Menti responses have really increased. Now we have almost 9 people, 10 people, 19 responses, which is very good. And we shall take all these priority learning elements you have proposed in context, and I hope in future we shall organize more sessions in these areas. Thank you so much, and I would like to say bye. You can put your videos and you say bye to each other. Some of you take long without meeting each other. You can unmute and say bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah,
Bye.
thank you so much for
Bye-bye.
attending. Yeah, bye-bye.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.
That was great.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.